Hi everyone. Today I am sharing a Vintage Fireman Journal that I have made for my son-in-law, who is a fireman and also a paramedic. So this is his Christmas gift. Haven't given it to him yet, but just finished it today and wanted to share it with you. I used a lot of Tim Holtz stuff or printouts from a variety of different places in this book. So this is a Tim Holtz paper, and this is a Tim Holtz from his wallpaper collection. And then I found this really adorable little guy. He's in a fireman's uniform. I found that online, and then I stitched around that and glued everything on. The spine is just painted cloth, and then more of the map on the back. So the map, I asked my daughter-in-law what I should include in his journal, and she said that he really loves maps. So I wanted to include them, but that also made sense that as a fireman, you also need to know your where you are, what your city is. Real quickly, let's take a look at the size of this puppy. It is just a little over 6 inches wide and a little over 8.5 inches tall. Not by much though. So what was nice about this was I was able to use just regular paper. I didn't have to cut it down. And then I just put seam binding, dyed seam binding as the closure. I thought about not putting a closure on this at all, but I've kind of packed it, so I'm glad I did. In the front, I have a pocket, and in this pocket is actually a prayer for a fireman. This is kind of a prayer for protection, and I found the prayer online, and I went to Canva to create this, and then just folded that up and tucked it in the front. And then I found these also online. I'm not exactly sure where. It may be the old digital print shop, something along that line, but I'm not exactly sure where I found these. But they're just, I printed them out on plain cardstock, and so they are journaling cards, and you'll see different ones throughout this. I thought about making this really fancy, but I decided to keep it more on the simple side. So there's coffee dyed paper. This is coffee dyed tracing paper. And of course, one of my favorite things is the sound of tracing paper. Again, this is some Tim Holtz ephemera that I had, and I love what this says, and I want this all to be encouraging. I have coffee dyed this kind of paper. This has 5 signatures with 6 pages each. But the pages are various things like this. Oh, and I did decide to put tabs all the way down, as you can see here. So I have tabs that I cut out with my We Are Memory Keepers tab punch. I made this. This is just a tag with some leftover Tim Holtz paper that I had. I believe that's from the Dapper collection. This is actually a piece of French vintage music that I bought from Monahan Papers. Love her shop on Etsy. Oh, this is too funny. I found this ad. It's a very old vintage ad, and it says, "I dreamed I was a fireman in my maiden form bra," and it shows a woman in her bra sliding down a fire pole, and these are little fire trucks. You can kind of see that. It's a fire truck with fire people around it. So anyway, I had to include that in there. He's got a great sense of humor. Coffee dyed ledger paper. So this is a piece from a book I've been using for a while. This was a dictionary, but it was also a secretary's book. It's from the 1930s. Really, really cool book that I have, but this is all the fire ones. So you've got things like fire escape, fire irons, fireman, fireplace, fire ship, fireside, fire water, fire weed, fireworks. So all the fire ones, that is what is in this dictionary page. More coffee dyed paper. Again, the rest of that dictionary page and ledger paper as well. But I wanted to keep lots of space for him to also journal in. I didn't want this to just be another pretty book. So I have 2 sizes of these kinds of papers Actually, I think both of those were given to me. That's more Tim Holtz. This is actually a map, old map of Colorado Springs, which is where they live now. But it's blank on the back, so if he wanted to, he could actually journal on the back of that even. More coffee dyed paper, another tab. I love the way this coffee dyed paper turned out. This coffee dyed paper, the way I do this is I simply lay out several layers on my dining room table and let it dry overnight, and in the morning it looks like this, so I don't even have to iron it, which is so nice. And then more coffee dyed paper. This is another page. This one's talking about telegraph, cable, and radio messages and the proper way to send those. And since he's a fireman, they use the radio a lot, so I thought that was appropriate. Of course, more tissue paper. Love the sound of tissue paper. Another tab. So on this tissue paper, the tissue paper was a little bit long and I folded it back, and then this is a copy or a print from Nick the Booksmith and her, she did hand-dyed papers, and this is just a print from that. So this says it's the little things that make life big, and then this one says important details, and again it's a map, so a map of the world, and he likes maps, and I just have this paper clipped in there because I didn't quite make it tight enough for it to hold. More book page, and then this is, I made again a little tuck spot here. This is another one of those that says fire hydrant I found, and a little Tim Holtz noted, and that just slides right back into there. More coffee dyed paper, and this paper. This I thought was really cute. I wanted to include this. This is from Nick the Booksmith as well, and it's a love letter, and because he's my son-in-law, I wanted to include this. I thought it was vintagey and kind of a cute idea. It's a love letter to a wife from a husband, and so that just seemed appropriate. More coffee dyed paper, another tab. This is another one of those things. So I found 4 of them and kind of made my own journal card digital layout through using Canva. And then more of that, and then I'm not quite sure where I found this one, but this is Charlie Chaplin in The Fireman. So that was a film apparently done a while ago. And then in the back I have another pocket. I have Live Happy Today, and this is another tag that I made out of some extra Tim Holtz paper I had. So I hope you enjoyed this flip through of my Vintage Fireman's Journal. I hope I've encouraged you to craft today.